Hello, and you're listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm Zach.
And this week we're talking about Back to the Future 3.
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand and trust me, the book was better.
Firstly, got to say a big thank you, Zach, popping in at the last minute to do Back to the Future 3.
That's fine, man. It's fine.
I was going to have, I promised Hexawenus, but just totally left me standing at the altar in front of all my family. Just
Oh, really?
totally embarrassed,
Terrible.
crying under my veil, and you came in and fixed all that. And this is kind of a really sort of benchmark episode, I think, in a way, because this is one of those series that we started on the podcast quite a long time ago. I think the original Back to the Future is in the first 10 episodes. I think Back to the Future 2 was about episode 33, and this is episode 171.
Wow.
Different guest each time, so it's been a very long time between drinks, and a lot of people who only sort of rely on us telling them about movies are probably on tenterhooks thinking, well, what happened to Marty McFly at the end of Back to the Future 2?
Did he go back to the future?
Did he? Yeah, did he go back? Did he go to the past? What happened to Doc? And I should apologise, really, because that's a pretty dick move to leave a whole lot of brothers hanging for that period of time.
That's true.
Yes. So, but we got it now. Back to the Future 3, film from 1990. God, it's a 90s film.
That's old.
It's very old. And this novel is by Craig Shaw Gardner. Now, he's been on the show before. He's the author of Back to the Future 2, Batman, Lost Boys, and also original fantasy books such as A Bad Day for Ali Baba and Bride of the Slime Monster.
I'd read that.
Which one? Both?
Bride
of the Slime Monster?
I'd read both. Preferably Bride of the Slime Monster.
Yeah. I hear she's pretty hot.
I hear she's just as slimy.
Sort of just a slimy. Yeah, could be. So, I'm kind of excited about this one. I think that when this film came out, because do you remember this was like the first time you really saw a sequel to a film? Actually, were you old enough to see Back to the Future in the cinema?
I was one.
You were one.
When this one came out.
So maybe not.
So I might have seen it. I don't know. Probably not.
But, it was... What was weird, when you saw Back to the Future 2, when it finished, you actually got the trailer
Oh, that's
for
right,
Back to the Future 3.
Yeah.
Which no one's ever done that since, I don't think. It was pretty crazy.
They did it at the end of the Machete movies.
But it's like a fake trailer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. It's Machete in space.
Well, I remember that. Well, this was the real thing, and I remember being bitterly disappointed because it looked like a Wild West stunt show that you would see like at Dreamworld or something.
It's a bit hammy.
Yeah, and I was like, you've got a time machine. And I felt really cheated, like, well, why don't you go to prehistoric times? Why don't you have dinosaurs or things like that? Like, I was really disappointed.
Cowboys are so cool, though.
You're a cowboy fan?
I love cowboy movies.
Is this your favourite Back to the Future?
No.
Someone was telling me it was their favourite Back to the Future.
Well,
it might have been Jacinta. It might have been because, like...
Jacinta's wrong.
A Western fan, yeah. Very, very wrong. And I think the reason is because it is a Wild West stunt show. And it's, like, not about the family. And you realise that Back to the Future works so well because it's all about the family and it has really great dual roles for, like, Leah Thompson and Crispin Glover. And there's a real attachment there to the characters and the stakes are all character-based. Whereas this is just like Wild West, let's do this, let's do that.
I always felt this movie was a bit... It didn't go with the other two.
No, and I think if you went to any other sort of time period, like here's Marty in feudal Japan, or here's Marty in the prehistoric. But I think it would be the same as this. It would be just there's some ancestors, and here's another Biff, and it wouldn't have that connection because I don't think you realize when you're a kid just how great and fucked up Back to the Future is. Like this whole idea of him going back, his mother falls in love with him, and
that's
is trying to bang him.
Yeah.
And then the second one's got like some family stuff, and it's still about Marty and his future and his past, but it's also about a sports almanac.
Yeah.
And then this one's like really about Doc Brown's love life. I mean, she even got on she's not on this cover, but a lot of the posters have her with Doc as well.
Yeah.
And it's like Jennifer never got on the poster.
No.
What's bloody Mary Steenburgen? Steenburger. Yeah, America's favorite actress.
She's definitely an American actress.
Like Mary Hot Dogs is the other one that they really love.
Yeah.
So, I feel like it just doesn't have the appeal.
It's missing the heart.
Yes, it doesn't have that core. And by heart, I mean
Sports almanac.
Marty's mum trying to bang him.
Yeah. That's what really
At all costs.
Yeah.
Because I think like that's the thread that you mine
Yeah.
throughout the movies. Like everywhere he goes, because you almost had the taste of that, like in Back to the Future 2, where he wakes up in Biff's casino and he's like, "Mom, your tits are so huge in the future."
Yeah.
And you're
wow,
like, "Oh,
there's a lot of...
yeah, this is
a lot of
going
that
somewhere."
going on.
But this one, I thought it doesn't have it, but there's some interesting things. I've never watched this. I have watched it as an adult, but I've never watched it through the eyes of somebody going, "I'm gonna analyze this."
Yeah.
And try and sort of pull it apart and understand it. And what I mean is, like, when you grow up with something, you take it for granted that's what it is, and you don't question certain things. Like Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
You go, "Oh yeah, his name's Winnie the Pooh," and you just accept that. But then there's a point where you go, "Winnie the Pooh? How the fuck did they come up with Winnie the Pooh?"
Winnie?
Yeah, the Pooh.
The Pooh's fine. I don't see a problem.
You know,
with that.
yeah. Well, he played Pooh Sticks, I guess. Him and Piglet hanging their bums over the bridge on the river,
Just like...
playing Pooh Sticks. Yeah, racing.
It's like Batman. The Tim Burton ones. He blows up a warehouse that's
Yes.
filled with criminals.
Yeah, and you
But growing up, I was like, Batman never kills people. And
Yeah.
that, like, even seeing it on screen, I didn't think it was a thing.
I didn't believe it. Yeah. So I feel like there were a lot of things I took for granted and just didn't ever question. And now I'm here. I want to
Now
ask.
I know incest is one of them.
Oh well, yeah. I want to ask the hard questions.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever thought about like Hill Valley? It's a paradox. Like, which is it?
Is it a hill or is it a valley?
Yeah, they're two opposite things.
I'm pretty sure it's just a plateau.
It's just completely flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like having a lake desert.
Yeah. I can never watch this movie again.
No, so if you've got a copy of it, chuck it out. I'm going to ruin it for you. Well, here we go. The conclusion of Back to the Future trilogy, said here on the back of the book, is one of the most successful motion picture sagas of all time. So let's read the beginning. It's a prologue. Saturday, November 12th, 1955, 10:04 p.m. Parentheses, again.
This was really deja vu. Marty McFly ran down the street past the malt shop and the movie theater, headed for the courthouse in the center of Hill Valley.
And it was all happening again, just like it did when? In his past? In his future? When you traveled through time, life could get really confusing.
The clock tower read 10:04.
The DeLorean, with its special superconducting electrical pole added for the occasion, raced past Marty, headed for the electrical line across the street. Now, this is all very familiar.
Yeah.
And it's actually the third time this scene has appeared in a novel, because it's all recapped, of course, at the end of Back to the Future 2. We get so it happens at the end of Back to the Future 1, at the end of Back to the Future 2, and then Back to the Future 3, it begins with the end of Back to the Future 2. So this is the third time I have read this stuff. And I got to admit, I was genuinely confused, because I kept thinking, pretty sure we've done this book before. And I honestly would do a bit of a Google search, book was better, Back to the Future 3, and go, no, we haven't. And then I'd read another 2 pages and go, I'm pretty sure we have done this, and then I would have to look. I actually ended up going through the site and looking episode by episode to see if we'd done it. Because even when it cut out of this scene and then to Doc, I was like, no, I'm pretty sure we've done this. So definite deja vu.
They do kind of repeat on themselves.
And I was kind of disappointed that they didn't paste in George Guype's superior prose. Now, know anything about George Guype?
Not as much as I'd like to.
He wrote the original Back to the Future novel, and it's actually one of the best novelizations we've read on the show still.
Really?
Like in 171 episodes, yeah. Really good, but it does get rapey towards the end, and not just
Not just the mum and son stuff.
Well, it's Biff being rapey, but the more problematic thing is like Doc sort of convincing Marty. Like Marty's like, I don't know if I want to like touch up my mum.
And Doc's like, do it, son.
Yeah, Doc's like, stick your hand up her like a muppet. And yeah, really like egging him on.
Yeah,
so
that's terrible.
That was a bit uncomfortable, but other than that, it's really good. And it you know, I was going to say I won't recap this because you know, people have heard it, but it was episode 7 or something, so I probably can. But it opens with an atomic blast and everybody getting destroyed and dying.
Like in Terminator when she's on the fence.
Yeah, like all their flesh gets stripped off, everybody dies, and you go, what the fuck? This isn't Back to the Future.
Yeah, I don't remember that happening
Where's
at all.
Huey Lewis? He didn't say anything about that in the news.
Sadly, he's probably dead.
Yeah, in the blast. He was he was on the front lines. He was like, okay, guys, we're ready. Let's
do it. And he plugged in his amp.
Yeah, what's that song? The song at the beginning?
Power of Love.
Power of Love, yeah. Power of Love. Okay, we ready? And then blam, blast. Everybody's dead. But no, it turned out that Michael J. Fox, Marty McFly, was watching a film. It was like a teaser opening. He was watching a film about nuclear holocaust.
Oh, like one of those educational ones?
Yeah. Like get under the table, duck and cover. He was...
those.
Yes.
I have a whole DVD of it.
Yeah, a compilation or a compilation?
Sometimes one, sometimes the other. It depends if I'm alone or not.
It's called Nuclear Loads. So yeah, he's watching that, and it was all kind of foreshadowing because instead of the lightning bolt in the original script, it was going to be the blast from a nuclear explosion. It was going to be nuclear testing.
That seems dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, very dangerous.
And no good idea gets destroyed. So Spielberg reused that idea of the nuclear blast at the beginning in Crystal Skull.
Oh, right. So he took all his...
Yeah.
He took the bad ideas and then put it into
a
bad movie.
But which is interesting too, because if you hear about that early stuff with Back to the Future, they were talking about the time machine was originally going to be in a fridge. And of course, Indiana Jones gets into a fridge to escape the nuclear blast.
So Crystal Skull is the movie he wanted to make.
A lot of connective tissue here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, George Guype, fantastic, probably the best novelization author, but only got to write pretty much Back to the Future because about a year or 2 years after writing it, he died of an allergic reaction to a bee sting.
Oh, that's horrible.
A bit of a My Girl tie-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst way to die.
Also, maybe a Winnie the Pooh tie-in as well.
Yeah, probably.
So, on a serious note, you know, sometimes if you're out and about and you see a tree full of delicious honey, just keep walking.
You don't have to eat honey every time you see it.
They have it at the supermarket now. That's one of those great things about the Western world. Honey on tap.
We're pretty lucky people.
We are rich in honey. This truly is
2016.
The land of milk and honey.
No, that's better than... I mean, it's 2016, but what you said is better.
Yeah. Well, it's 2016 too. 2016, the land of milk and honey. Put that on a license plate. Anyway, we know all this stuff about the DeLorean going Back to the Future and how Back to the Future 2... Like, this book assumes you have seen everything.
Yeah.
So, Doc sent Marty back to the future. Marty came back from the future, and the future Doc has been sent to the past, and now Marty has to get back to the future again or something, or perhaps go back and rescue Doc from the past, and then both of them will go back to the future.
That is all very confusing. Everything you just said is very confusing.
You know, I think everyone's on the same page here. We know everyone knows what we're talking about. Doc faints. Marty takes him home. Doc thinks it was all a dream. And then Marty is having a dream. He's asleep in a chair and he's having a dream about... ...
Marty was in the Wild West. The heart, Ramon, Clint was saying. Don't forget the heart. Why was Clint saying that? Wasn't that from A Fistful of Dollars? There was the sound of gunfire close by. Someone was firing on Clint, right at the heart.
And you remember what happens here? Clint gets shot in the chest. He lifts up the poncho.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a metal plate underneath.
Yeah, good old Clint.
Now, if you've ever seen a film before, and you know that this is going to be a Western, you might assume that at some point somebody's going to get a shot in the chest and reveal that they've got a metal plate underneath.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah. And I think that's such a juxtaposition from how cleverly and tightly written the first film was when it came to, like, setting up reveals for
Yeah.
later on. Often you hear Back to the Future being quoted as one of those screenplays that's just really, really tight.
Yeah.
There's all this cause and effect.
This is kind of lazy.
This is really lazy, and not only is it like lazy, but think about the fact that he's having to dream the movie because he's currently in 1955 and the movie's not going to come out until 1964. So
Yeah, that's even weirder.
it would have been less clumsy to have him just watching it on TV
Yeah.
or something. But
Yeah.
no, he has to dream the film.
He has to dream a movie that doesn't exist to go back to a time period
Yeah.
where the movie still doesn't exist.
In order to crib an idea which he might use later. He's got some Minority Report shit going on,
Yeah.
really. He's what a precog? Is that what they're called?
Precog,
Yeah. Mike J. Fox.
It's
Look,
genius. It's what I would do if I went back in the past.
maybe that's an idea for the future because Michael J. Fox, okay, he's a bit limited in what he can do now in terms of the roles.
That's true.
In terms of Marty McFly.
It's a lot of voice work.
Could shave his head, though, lay him down in some water,
Yeah.
attach one of those marble devices, and he just... he's been so far around all these different time periods that
He
he
just knows.
what crimes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because he got a crime almanac
Yeah.
from a collectible
But then they
store.
get annoyed because, like, on the screens, it's always just thoughts of his mum.
His mum's always coming in and interrupting and scrubbing him,
Yeah.
sponging
Like,
him.
she's the one who comes in
Yeah.
for the baths.
Cleans him up. All right, so many pages of exposition. Doc is a blacksmith in 1885. He couldn't repair the DeLorean, and it will never fly again because I guess that stuff's kind of expensive and they don't
Yeah.
want to do it. Also, this old chestnut appears.
Marty nodded. Yeah, pretty heavy, huh?
Heavy? In 1885? As far as Doc could determine, he would weigh the same. He stopped himself. He had to remember where this Marty McFly came from. Obviously, heavy was an expression from the future. And isn't that ironic? Because a millennial today would probably be just as confused by Marty's 80s slang.
Yeah, my grandma would have no idea what he was saying.
And do you think that, what if, like, Doc did go back to the past, and why would he stay the same weight? If he was comfortable in the Wild West
Isn't
and
that
enjoying himself.
part of it? Like, he loves the Wild West?
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to go there, right?
yeah. So he could get fat.
Yeah.
He could actually get really heavy.
Yeah.
Like, what's stopping Marty from going back
That's
and
true.
going, oh, Doc, you've stacked on the...
They didn't have the best diets back then.
No, absolutely not.
So he probably has become slightly heavier.
Yeah, so I think it's presumptuous of Doc. I think, like, once you meet someone and you settle in,
Yeah.
especially a man of his age, why not?
Do you think other Martys have come back? Because he's like, he had to remember who this Marty McFly was. So other Martys have come back
Yeah, well, this is
from
his...
parallel times.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff's confusing with the branching. I'm not entirely sure how it all works.
Yeah.
And I do have some questions as we go on. But, because is this the second Marty, really? Or the first? Because this is the Marty
It all goes back.
been into 55. Because remember, there were two Martys at one point in Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
So, this is really that second Marty.
So this is Marty 2.
This is Marty 2. Yeah.
Right.
Back to the Future 3, Marty 2, for those keeping.
Back to the Future
Score.
4, Marty no more.
Oh, yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I do want us to talk about Back to the Future 4 and speculation on what that all
yeah.
could be. In fact, I thought this was maybe... Look at this bit.
Well, he said reassuringly, there are plenty worse places to be than the Old West. What if I ended up in the Dark Ages? He laughed
Ruefully.
ruefully.
It means he was up on the roof. He climbed up onto the roof. And
I
he
thought it meant like
And he threw back his head and he laughed at the stars.
the duck gave him a drink. And he was like, I'm tired. They would have probably burned me at the stake as a heretic or a warlock or something.
That feels to me like a potential seed for Back to the Future 4 because it's so on the nose.
I'd like that.
And this movie's always about like foreshadowing stuff. So, Doc's a warlock.
Yeah.
Writes itself.
I feel like Back to the Future 4 could be Evil Dead 3. And Marty's like on top of the DeLorean with a shotgun.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, this is my broomstick.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he runs the Dark Ages.
Because he learns to shoot in
Yeah.
this film.
That's it. In this movie, he becomes a gun nut.
Yeah. And he gets his hand chainsawed off towards the end by Biff.
Yeah.
So, it was an accident, though. Biff's like, where do you want these chainsaws, Mr. McFly? And then
Here
he
you go,
trips,
catch.
trips over the hose. I don't know why they were all on, though. That's the strange thing.
Yeah.
The foreshadowing is very heavy-handed. They blow up a mine in order to get the stashed DeLorean, which has been stashed by the Doc from the past, and they knock over...
Just a few tombstones. He waved vaguely at the ancient graveyard on the far side of the road, where a few of the brittle old marks actually had fallen. We'll set them up later.
Wink. What will they discover? And I think it would have been cooler, though. What if Doc had been shot by Mad Dog Tannen and was bleeding out, but managed to get back to the car and tried to start it up, and then died in the car? So that when they went into the mine and went to the car, Doc's corpse was, like, mummified, sitting in the driver's seat.
But there's, like, a little note written in blood.
Yeah, on the window. Dried blood. That would be fantastic.
That'd be so good.
Why? Yeah, missed opportunity. See, this movie's too happy-go-lucky westerny.
It should have been a lot darker.
Should have been way darker.
A lot less family-oriented.
Like Revenge of the Sith, the darker chapter of the trilogy. And great description of the car here. I think, the car is a character in itself, and I think it's really given the gravitas it deserves.
The DeLorean was a sports car. Actually, it was one of the ultimate cool sports cars.
I feel like we're getting his thought process there. Like, I feel like the first thing you do when you're a novelization writer is pull the delete button off your keyboard and just throw it over your shoulder. So it's all train of thought. The DeLorean was a sports car.
Actually, it was
You never press backspace. Yeah. But remember those tombstones. Now, this is interesting because the dog actually starts whimpering and leads them over to the tombstones. And they don't actually explore the fact that the dog must be able to read.
Yeah, that's weird. I never thought of that.
Because the dog's upset by this particular tombstone.
Maybe that dog is from the future.
Actually, it could be the smell. He might recognize his master's smell in a shallow grave.
That's probably more plausible than a time-traveling dog.
Doc is dead, shot in the back by Buford Tannen over a matter of $80.
That's enough to kill a man.
It is, and the tombstone says...
Erected in eternal memory by his beloved Clara.
Mary Steenburgen, who was hot enough in 1990 to give you an eternal erection.
Maybe that's how the dog noticed.
He just saw his
penis sticking out of the ground.
Sticking out of the dirt. It's like, I've seen that before. Because Einstein would always watch Doc in the shower. That was something they established really early on.
That's weird.
Okay, so someone who saw Back to the... do you know how old you were when you saw Back to the Futures, roughly?
I would have been like 9 or 10 when I saw them.
Did you get the flux capacitor joke?
No.
Yeah, so I didn't get it till ages later when I was at a friend's house when I was like about early 20s, taking a piss, and the toilet says on the porcelain flush capacity.
Oh, really?
And he said he got the idea for the flux capacitor when he fell off the toilet.
I'd
Yeah.
like to say I realized that before right now.
That's cool,
but
huh?
I didn't.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Flush capacity. So I can't say Buford. Buford Tannen.
Buford Tannen.
Buford.
Bifford.
Bifford Tannen. Well,
Bifford Tannen.
Read between the lines.
Yeah.
He shot Doc. And we know that Marty grew up with a lot of Biff beef. But Doc never, in any of the other movies, had any beef with Biff.
Yeah.
So what do you think about, Doc now, in the third movie, cutting off his own slice of Biff beef? When, as far as Doc was concerned, Biff never had any beef to give.
I think the beef with Biff is... the beef Biff.
A lot of beef.
Yeah.
Happening.
Biff's given out beef to everyone.
Do you think that's it? It's just like, Biff's got a lot of beef to give.
Yeah. If Biff was a abattoir, then everyone would be eating beef.
Everyone would, yeah. Mary Steenburgen got even more beef than her, and that's saying something. So, yeah, I felt it was like, hey, that's my bad guy?
Yeah.
You know? Like, that would be like you're watching Batman, Superman, and Batman's like, I got you, Joker, and then Superman comes in and goes, hey, Joker, and pulls him away and starts, and he'd be like, hey, look, that's my thing. We've established the thing.
We established that I'm the Batman.
Yeah, plus, and this will come up in an excerpt in a second, Doc's only actually, in this timeline, known of Biff for about 2 days.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought it
because
was like an ongoing thing.
no, but so hang on, it's no, because Biff's a teenager in the 50s, and Doc's got nothing to do with him. Doc's
Yeah.
doing his own inventing stuff. Marty comes back and causes beef with Biff, and Doc's only aware of Biff through Marty. But I don't even think they even share any screen time.
Yeah, I can't ever recall them being on.
The future Doc is aware of Biff's son and tells
Yeah.
Marty about that.
Yeah.
But that's not the Doc that we're seeing now.
Old Biff does steal the car, though. Oh, no,
Yeah,
that's
but that
'cause
hasn't
Marty-
happened to this Doc
That's
yet.
right,
It's
yeah.
happened to this Marty, but not this Doc.
Yeah.
This is the 1955 Doc, who only knows Biff as a teenager that... He wasn't even there when he, drove into the manure or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This is confusing.
It's very confusing. And, and we're talking about all this stuff because the novelization really is just A to Z through the screenplay. So I'm focusing more on the story than the excerpts because it's really just a lot of dialogue. But basically, Doc's more worried because not that he's going to die, but that he gets involved with a pioneer woman, the beloved Clara, and he feels that could upset the future. And then I thought, well, I guess it does because he removes her from the timeline
Yeah.
because she's going to end up going back to the future with him. So,
She could have been, the ancestor of a famous American actress.
well, yeah, something happens to her, of course, which we find out about later, and so I'm not really sure.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because she was supposed to die, but
Yeah.
then surely there are still ripples because, wouldn't her family and stuff, would their lives change whether she
Yeah.
lives or dies, and then she doesn't die, but she disappears.
Yeah.
How did they do that? Did her family just, she just went, oh, I don't give a fuck about any of my family because this old guy has shown up and I'm gonna
And he's got a flying...
fly off with him in his train?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well,
problematic.
yeah. This is too much.
I know. I told you. You think, oh, it's gonna be lassos and yeehaws and cowboy hats. But no. There's some real beef in here.
Yeah.
So, rather than wait for the internet to be invented, they go to the city archives to learn about Mad Dog Tannen, killer of 12 men, not including Indians or Chinamen. So, yeah,
It's a bit...
some things in America
Yeah.
haven't changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doc realized the gunfighter bore a striking resemblance to Biff Tannen, a local teenager who had had more than one run-in with Marty over the past couple of days. So I don't know how significant that was to Doc, but there you go. He recognizes him straight away. Could Mad Dog be Biff's great-grandfather? It was certainly within the realm of scientific possibility. Still, Doc reminded himself, Biff's parentage wasn't the central issue here.
No, it wasn't.
I thought it would be really good if they did a one where Marty is sent through time to kill Biff's father at the point of conception.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, couldn't they just, kick Buford Tannen square in the nuts?
Yeah.
And
I think
then
he almost does.
None
at
of
some
this
point.
Biff problem would ever happen.
Straight in the ball. Oh, but then he's going to come back to the future, 85, and that car's going to look like it needs some wax. And he's going to be like, oh, why did I kick him in the nuts?
Yeah. Fuck.
I wondered if this was a bit of unintentional comedy corner, a segment that we haven't had for a while.
Doc Brown only wanted to know one thing. Could Marty pull this off?
Yeah, you got to wonder about that. That's something that the series has never explained, is how they became friends.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a bit weird. That's one thing I always wondered in the first one, is why is this 15-year-old boy
Yeah,
going into this old man's house?
without a chaperone.
Yeah. It's and it doesn't seem like he knows his parents.
No,
They have no other connection than those two. But why?
weird.
Yeah. The dog would know.
Especially because, when he goes back to 50s, Doc's really, he doesn't sort of open the door and go, hey, come on in. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I shouldn't be around kids. Go away. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm doing stuff. I don't want you here. And I feel like, is it because he's on some sort of register or something like that? He's like,
Probably.
but obviously something sort of softened up later on. And he's like, okay, well,
Something hardened up.
they've become friends. And, Einstein definitely is the go. So, Marty gets dressed for the West. You remember his outfit here?
Yeah. Even though the other stuff fit, he wasn't sure about this elaborate pink and blue shirt. Not only did the yellow fringe get in the way, but what about that fancy design just below each shoulder? Didn't those elaborate circles look an awful lot like exploding atoms? Marty didn't even think they had atoms in 1885.
Yeah, Marty, that's gonna blow your cover and confuse the living shit out of a bunch of cowboys.
In case they recognize the
Yeah.
science that doesn't exist.
Yeah, like the pattern on my socks could look like an alien death weapon that's going to be unveiled to the world
Yeah.
in 2045, but I'm not going to worry about it because how would I know?
Yeah, they're not going to do anything with it.
I thought for an author that doesn't add a lot of additional stuff, some of the additional stuff he adds, like when he puts in a thought, it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Marty travels to the past, finally. Here we go, and...
There were Indians everywhere, but the movie screen was gone. The first thing Marty saw was a cloud of dust rising from a ridge directly ahead. And then there were galloping horses charging over the ridge, 100 horses or more, and mounted on those horses were 100 men, some wearing buckskin, some with feathered headdresses, some with little more than loincloths and designs painted on their chests and arms and faces. Marty recognized those clothes and designs from his high school Hill Valley history class. It was the local Indian tribe, at least local in 1885. The Pahachis?
Dunno, but look, somebody get Principal Strickland on the line, because does that sound like a slacker to you? This, to me, sounds like a guy who's
Yeah.
paying a whole lot of attention in his history class.
Yeah, he knows exactly all the racial stereotypes of Native Americans.
It was like Sherlock Holmes here, checking out all the little details.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 100 guys on 100... Well, look, it's
You
not
probably-
even. It's not even clear. We know there's 100 horses. It says, and mounted on those horses were 100 men. So that could
That's
be
true.
100 horses, 100 men on each horse.
Yeah,
So that's 100 times
so he's clearly
100.
been slacking in maths.
And he's still checking all this shit out. He still knows. And sweeping a little bit of horrible history under the rug, why aren't the Poachis local anymore, Marty? Like, they were local, they were all living
Yeah.
there and enjoying it. What happened? And
And now they've gone.
yeah, that's
For
a
reasons
that's a
you can
mystery.
only assume.
Is that a mystery that Marty's going to bother solving while he's here?
Probably not.
Something he's going to prevent? Or is he going to try and get Doc Brown's dick wet instead?
I know what I would do.
Yeah, when you got a choice. So Marty stacks the car, rips the gas tank, what a dickhead, loses his boots, meaning he's stuck in his Nikes. That's going to raise some
Yeah.
bushy eyebrows, let me tell you. But worst of all...
Marty had a bear on his rear end. The kind of problem that only had one possible solution.
They said Leonardo had been raped by a bear. There's no question here. And you kind of got to wonder, well, what is the solution if you've got a bear on your rear end?
Yeah.
Bite on something.
He's probably just after some of that honey. Some of that sweet, sweet honey.
Sweet honey. Marty himself was the land of milk and honey.
Yeah. He shouldn't have smeared it on himself.
Milk lemonade. Marty... Marty around the corner gets late. Is that how it goes?
I think so.
Yeah. Marty gets tired. He rolls down a hill. He hits his head on a fence post. And he meets a farmer who...
But there was something more. Something oddly familiar about this farmer. If only Marty could think he knew he would put his finger on it right away.
And also, not just the farmer, but...
The woman had sat in a chair at the side of his bed. She was in her early 20s and wore a dark blue flowered dress and a white apron. Her long brown hair was pinned up behind her head in a bun. She still looked an awful lot like Marty's mother.
So, my instinct was to say that Leah Thompson was shortchanged in this film because, she doesn't have nearly as much to do, and it's not as memorable a character, but also because I'm thinking, compared to the other ones, this film lacks that whole Oedipal thing. But then I was like, oh no, this is actually the most Oedipal of all, because her husband isn't a George McFly ancestor, it's not a Crispin Glover type. Her husband is being played by Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
So this is the movie where the mother and the version of the mother and the version of the son are actually full on sleeping together and have a baby.
This is my favorite of the Back to the Futures.
And she tries to get him drunk on homemade like moonshine or something. So
Take
don't
advantage of him.
Gunning.
What's better than one Marty McFly?
gunning for a three-way there. And the baby there is Marty's great-grandfather, who is the first McFly, who was born in America. So, plot thickens here. Why do Marty's great-great-grandparents look like Marty and Lorraine? Because Lorraine isn't a McFly. She's a Baines. She's Lorraine Baines.
I think I know what it is.
It was Crispin Glover who was the McFly. So why do Marty's McFly relatives, his ancestors, look like a Bane and the product of a Bane and a McFly? It makes no sense.
I think that Marty does have sex with his great-great-grandmother in this one, which creates an inbred line of McFlys.
There has to be that...
She leaves in shame and changes her name to Bane.
Fuck, you've got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Crispin Glover isn't just Marty McFly's dad. He's Marty McFly's great-great-grandson.
Yeah, I think
His
you nailed it.
inbred child. And
Has
that's
to
why
be.
he looks like Crispin Glover.
Marty McFly's got to have put his genes in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't make sense how it's been presented at all. Interesting.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah.
If you read between the lines.
Yeah. Yes. So Marty says that he's Clint Eastwood, and then his great-grandfather pisses on him. And then there's about a page and a half of Marty needing to piss, but he's confusing them by saying things like, I got to go to the bathroom. And they're like, bathroom? Wait, you got to take a bath? We don't get it.
Yeah, that's his fault.
And then Marty burst out of the outhouse. He'd never smelled anything so foul in his entire life. At least he'd been able to relieve himself, but he'd had to do it holding his breath. So we've kind of gone from Mom, your tits are so much bigger in the future, to Mom, your ass is so much smellier in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is... Why didn't he just, pee on a tree?
I don't know. Well, he sort of realizes that he's going to have to go in bushes from now on if this is the quality of the West.
This is the thing. If I was in a house... And I was like, guys, I need to use the toilet. And they were like, what's the toilet? I'd be like, well, fuck you guys. And I would just walk outside and pee on the wall.
I would just unzip and let rip. Even public toilets are weird anyway, aren't they? Like, you go in there and it's like, oh, this is just a designated wall where you can pull out your
urinals?
dick.
It's just a big trough.
Yeah.
It's a big urine trough.
In front of other people and just wee on the wall. Come and wee on our wall.
I do not like it at all.
So strange. So Marty ventures into Wild West Hill Valley, and I thought, we talked about great authors. I thought this really paints a picture.
It looked like a Wild West saloon on the inside, too. A real big Wild West saloon.
I feel like, because this is the third part, that the book is able to skip over so much stuff. It's basically like, you know who Mighty Doc and Biff are. You've seen Westerns before. Just roll with it.
Yeah.
It's fine. And the locals are real nice. We can take turns with these guys. He must have got that shirt off a dead Chinese, added the third fellow from behind his drooping dark moustache. All three men at the table laughed.
My son was once come home from back east wearing fancy-ass duds like that, the oldster with the derby drawled.
What'd you do? The fellow with the beard asked.
I set fire to him, the first one allowed. Wow.
Seems reasonable.
That's how I would parent.
Yeah. As I said, a lot of these attitudes, you're
Still relevant.
still thriving today.
My dad would set me on fire if I was wearing...
A pink shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mad Dog enters. Mad Dog Tannen, and he starts with the beef. The beef is out. The beef is unleashed.
Tannen? Marty asked as he took a step forward to the leader of the gang. You're Mad Dog Tannen. Now that he looked at the guy, he did look something like his great-grandson, Biff.
Can't help but feel that both Marty and Doc have been really slow on the uptake here. You'd think especially Marty, would be able to spot him straight away.
It is the man who's been tormenting him.
It's Biff with the moustache.
Yeah.
Marty stopped hopping and started to moonwalk. Billie Jean is not my lover, he whispered as he moved. Hey, he hadn't watched all those Michael Jackson videos for nothing. And it worked, at least for a minute. These cowboys had never seen somebody walk backwards on his toes. So I wonder if the same thing works on bears.
You probably, if the bear was on your rear and you moonwalked, you would just be getting closer to the bear.
You'd just be backing, that's true. I think you would have to start moonwalking before it got into that rear position. Probably a good way to avoid the rear position. But like you said, if it's an ambush, what hope have you got?
You have no hope.
Yeah. I think anybody, look, if anyone's ever in a dangerous situation, try just wowing them with a moonwalk. Better than shooting, starting shooting. For sure.
I mean, if I had a gun. If I had a gun and a bear was attacking me,
yeah,
I'd probably shoot, but I'd definitely try moonwalking afterwards.
But wouldn't you be afraid that, like, a little bullet, big bear, you're just going to piss it off?
Oh no, I'd shoot myself.
There you go.
Like in the leg. And this bear would be like, I don't want to eat this guy. He's obviously crazy. He's tainted me. And then he'd leave me alone.
So Marty knocks a full spittoon over Mad Dog's head. Spit, tobacco, everything all over his face. And Mad Dog then naturally wants to hang Marty McFly. And I kind of think fair enough.
Yeah.
That's pretty gross.
It's disgusting.
And it was relatively unprovoked. I mean, look, he was saying some horrible things, but so was everybody in the saloon.
And back then, like, why? That would just be an act of offense. Like,
yeah. And it would be pretty gross spit from some pretty gross men.
Yeah. I would probably vomit.
Marty wondered if his life would flash before his eyes in those last few seconds before he died. That was supposed to happen, wasn't it? Marty wasn't so sure, though. The last few days alone had been so confusing. What with all the time travelling and everything, he didn't think it could all flash by in a few seconds. That's the great thing. He could have just fast-forwarded through the last 2 VHSs.
That's true.
Picked out all the good bits.
That's what I would have done. So, wait, what's the movies span over 3 time periods? 4? 4 time periods?
So what is it? It's 2015, 85, 55, and 1885.
But it's only like 3 days.
Oh.
Right? Because the first one happens. The first one...
The Enchantment Under the Sea night dance is at night, and he leaves that night.
And then he's back before the next day.
There's a night in the future, but then he leaves before morning, I think.
But when he comes back... Doesn't he come back to the same time period? Because no one realizes he's gone.
I think the movies happen in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the whole thing takes about 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So Future Doc, stuck in the past, saves Marty and scares off Mad Dog, who I think is actually another ancestor of Sick Cunt Tannen.
Oh, definitely. The best of the tenants.
Yeah, he was interesting.
He was a real sick cunt.
He was. You should have seen what he did to that bear. And now the future/past Doc needs catching up on things as this story kind of just starts penduluming wildly now between exposition and Wild West stunt show.
Yeah.
It's like exposition. Lassos, horses, exposition. And they can't get gas, and they need a way for the DeLorean to hit 88 miles per hour. So they're going to have to push it in a train towards a ravine.
Logically.
And Doc hasn't met Clara yet. And he doesn't want to, because you and I, we both know women are trouble.
Yeah, especially pioneer women.
Oh, yeah, they were pioneering trouble.
Yeah.
Basically. But when they're scoping out the ravine, Clara appears. She nearly falls into it. Doc falls instantly in love and starts having thoughts about her ravine. Which was why it was going to be called...
That's why it's called Hill Valley.
Clara's Ravine. Yes.
He's named it after her hills and her valley.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Look, you're solving... See, I read this thing and I was just confused, and you're solving all these issues. And what wonderful features surrounded that smile, that pert nose, that strong chin, those deep, large brown eyes that a man could get lost in. So, yeah, this film is about a horny Doc wanting to get his fuck on instead of being about Marty being seduced by his mother. Therefore, I think it's a weaker film.
Yeah, that's true. But is it though? Because, like, Marty and his mum have had sex.
That's true. They finally consummated it in this one.
Yeah. So perhaps this is the best of the movies.
Yeah, I think there's, the movie doesn't show you everything that happened. I think you're right. I think on that night, because Marty did stay the night.
Yeah.
Something definitely happened.
Why would he stay the night?
Yeah.
If not for sex?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
That's right. She curtsied slightly. What a gentlewoman she was. And here, in the Old West, her every word was a symphony. Her every move worthy of a sonnet. Talk about putting the pussy on a pedestal, Doc.
It's right up there.
God damn. Wild West Pussy Museum opening up. That'll be the photo. It won't be a photo of him and Marty in front of the town hall clock.
No.
It'll be in front of the new Doc Brown wing of the Pussy Museum.
Yeah.
With
That's what the
Clara
whole town becomes.
on a pedestal, yeah. And suddenly, the pink shirt's popular again.
Yeah.
It's the uniform in the museum.
The symbols have changed below the shoulders.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
atoms anymore. Now it's just straight up vaginas.
Yes, this is where we find out Clara was supposed to die. She was supposed to die in the ravine. So her remaining in the time stream, I don't know if it's a problem or not. I still think of her family. Maybe she's an orphan. I don't know. I feel like there's some sort of weird danger in removing this person and putting them in the future.
Yeah, it's a bad move.
Do you hear that thing about Back to the Future 2? How it would have been impossible for Marty and Jennifer to have had kids?
Why?
Because, okay, here's them in 1985.
Yep.
And Doc comes in and says, you've got to come with me to the future. So he picks them up. They exit 1985. They don't exist for the next 30 years because they're traveling to 2015 and then they get deposited in 2015.
Yeah, but then they come back to 1985. So they were there from 1985 to...
But not that first trip.
No,
But
they
then
were
I
still
guess-
there because, like, them coming back
Has put them there.
was behind where they went.
So confusing.
I hate time travel.
You gotta be... It's pretty ballsy to sit down and go, I'm going to write a time travel
Yeah,
script.
it's hard as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's not many movies that pull it off.
No.
No. Predestination does. That movie's fucked.
I haven't seen that. I should see
Oh,
that.
you should watch it.
I will.
'cause It's fucked.
You know, this is such an aside, but I wanted to talk to you about it. I only watched Hot Rod for the first time the other day.
Fuck yeah.
That is so funny.
It's the best movie.
Ian McShane just cracked me up every time. I just fucking loved him. It was
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
That's how you prove your, like, worth to your dad, is by fighting him.
Yes, and like that whole plot of getting him a heart transplant, getting him better so that
Yeah.
he could beat the shit out
That's
of him.
the whole movie. You don't
So
realize.
good. So good. So anyway, back to the Future 3. Clara settles into the town, and I thought perhaps she's getting a little too relaxed here.
Yes, I'm starting to get settled. She looked down at the long black object in her hands.
Yep. Well, yeah, she was a pioneer.
Doc Brown's pussy shop open for business.
So they all go to the festival. There's a festival. It's Saturday night. Marty and Doc have their photo taken with the new town hall clock outside the Pussy Museum. And the story is losing steam for me now because we've heard their plan in detail. You know, we're going to put the car in front of a train.
Yeah.
And I've seen the movie. I know that's exactly what they're going to do. So now we just kind of have to wait for them to carry it out exactly as planned.
Yeah.
But at the carnival, Elmer J. Johnson turns up. Now, he's a gun salesman. He's like sowing the seeds of, yeah, guns, America. Guns are awesome. Everyone needs a gun. Marty's like, I'm not a gun fan. And he's like, yeah, you are. You've got to try this. And he seduces Marty with a gun at a firing range.
Son, he continued evenly, his insincere smile still firmly in place. I said that even a baby could handle this weapon. Surely you're not afraid to try something that even a baby could do.
He said, sucking on a breast while shitting himself.
Yeah.
Eating a jar of stewed apples. Yeah.
I would, if someone came up to me with that and they were like, a baby could do this, then I would take that as a sign that I was allowed to shit myself in that scenario.
Well, look, Marty's reaction to this is quite strong. Like, the baby talk has really rubbed him up the wrong way.
He gets really angry real quick.
He does. He's got a bit of a short fuse, which he
Yeah.
didn't have in the first movie, but suddenly that second movie comes along and he's got a certain issue with certain words.
He doesn't like being called a baby or a coward.
Yeah. Marty bristled. This guy was implying that Marty wasn't a man? That was almost as bad as being called chicken, because a chicken is not a man
Chicken is definitely not a man.
either.
It's a chicken.
Unless it's some kind of chicken man.
Yeah.
But it's not in this case. What is your take on the chicken thing? It feels so just wedged in there for me in that second movie.
I really don't know what to think of it. It comes out of nowhere. Like, why does he care what... He's there for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of shit on his plate.
Yeah, literally.
Why does he care if some guy who he's never, ever gonna see again
Yeah.
thinks he's a coward?
Yeah.
Like, he's literally got the fate of his entire family on his hands, but he's willing to take a time out to prove to some guy that he's not a coward.
Even though he knows what will happen in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's an American and he's proud.
Yeah. Well, why doesn't he want these guns straight away?
I was in the last book, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was in Ants with Paris. There's a line, something like, better to be brave and dead than alive and a coward.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I watched that movie.
There's the mentality.
Terrible.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
It's awful. Mad Dog, he shows up, starts acting like a mad dog.
I wonder why they call him Mad Dog.
Figuring out all these things for the first time. He's threatening to shoot Doc, and then he's being characteristically rapey with Clara.
You'll learn, Tannen replied. He grabbed her and started to dance, but now he held the gun at her back. She could feel the sharp metal edge of the muzzle through her dress. Well, gun or no gun, she supposed she had promised to dance with him, so she should at least go through the motions. It was the sort of thing a proper woman did, no matter what the circumstances.
Being a woman sucked.
Yeah, it really does suck.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Oh, he's threatening
But maybe
to
he's
kill
like,
me.
maybe she's like, oh, I don't know how to dance. And he, in the script, it was like, you'll learn. Like, very caringly. Like, he's showing her how to dance.
Oh, except...
But, like, he's already holding the gun. Where's he going to put it? He's got to put his arms around her. Maybe Mad Dog's just misunderstood.
Nature's holster.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Tannen said as he turned to her again, I figured there's something you can do that's worth $80.
I was wrong. It's very rapey.
Yeah, he's gross. All the Biffs are gross.
Yeah, I hate them.
And don't you think that's just the weirdest thing that George McFly has his wife's rapist washing his car all the time?
Maybe he knows. Like, that's why he's doing it. Because Biff hates washing that car, right?
I don't know. He's pretty chipper in the after everything's changed.
Yeah, it's true. I think all of these movies could have been solved if they'd gone straight back to this time period and taught this Mad Dog guy about being nice.
Yeah, $80. I'll tell you what I'll do that's worth $80. Some etiquette lessons.
Donate it to charity.
Yeah,
Because that's what a good person would do.
and he'd be like, I never thought of that before, ma'am. Buy me a drink first, Mr. Tannen. So Marty McFly saves Doc from being shot with a frisbee.
Ah, yeah, I remember this.
I feel like Marty's tombstone should say Marty McFly ate a pie through a frisbee, because that is fucking baller.
It is.
That,
It's pretty.
you know,
It's pretty good.
Well, look, a lot of talk about gun violence lately, and we need guns to protect ourselves from people with guns.
Do you, though?
And everything, we will be safe if we shot back. Well, what about take a leaf out of Marty McFly's book?
Yeah,
1, you get a delicious pie.
that's true.
2, just frisbee a gun out of someone's hand.
It looks cooler.
Looks cool, and they're not going to die.
Lots of heroes do it. Captain America,
Yeah.
Xena.
Yeah, you should have seen the pie that Captain America had to eat to get that shield. Bloody huge.
Yeah, I bet it was.
It was Mum's apple pie.
Yeah.
Is there a Mother America? There should be a Mother America.
There's
an Uncle Sam.
There's a female,
Captain America.
I don't know if she's a Captain America. She's got, like, the American flag on her chest.
Is that American Dream?
Maybe.
Yeah, there's like an American Captain America looking American lady with blonde hair called American Dream.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I bet he ate that pie.
probably. So Mad Dog challenges Marty to a duel the next day.
That's what I thought, Tannen exclaimed with a laugh. A yellow belly. Ha ha ha. A yellow belly. That was worse than being called a chicken.
And some chickens, especially little chickens,
Have yellow bellies.
they do. So, God,
It's doubly bad.
that's awful. That's the worst
And
thing you can say.
Those are baby chickens.
Yeah.
Which we
Oh,
also know he
shit.
doesn't like.
That's all 3 things.
I'm surprised he didn't just kill everyone in his
Yeah.
immediate vicinity.
Yeah, that's why Marty has no male friends his own age.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, hey, Marty, want to come and pick up some chicks? And he'd just go fucking ballistic.
Yeah.
He'd just be windmilling his fists at them, crying and screaming. Anyway, Marty has learned nothing from his experiences in the last movie where he saw that this reckless behavior was going to ruin his rock star career and make him a too-tired loser. But skim time, there's a lot of talk here, a lot of chat about the plan. The DeLorean is modified for the train. Marty's measured for a coffin. Doc pines for Clara, tells her the truth. I'm a time traveler, Clara. She slaps him. Doc gets absolutely pissed off his tits on one whiskey.
Pussy.
And then finally, put him on a pedestal. Finally, the duel is upon us, and...
Ow! You have to be careful when you got involved in this Western action stuff. Marty massaged his shoulders. There would be real bruise there, but nothing was broken. He was lucky he didn't hit the stove with his head. He would have passed out and had another one of those Clint Eastwood dreams. Dreams! Marty looked down at the solid iron stove door. He smiled, just like Clint Eastwood.
Yep, so more clumsy exposition. It says there would be a real bruise there, and I thought that's interesting because if that was a particularly sooty stove, it could have left a black mark on his arm.
Yeah.
And that could have been a fake bruise.
Yeah.
And he would have been like, oh shit, I'm really dinged myself up, Doc, and then wiped him. And oh no, I didn't.
Yeah. I don't know why they cut that out of the movie.
So my question is, what other movies could Marty have dreamed about? Like, because he ended up dreaming about 1960,
that's a good point.
Whatever's Fistful of Dollars. But if he dreamed about another movie, that would affect his plan here and how he would approach this duel.
Like if he dreamed about Highlander?
Or if he dreamed about Jim Carrey's The Mask and then all these cartoon guns came out of his hands and he said smoking. And
he's smeared green paint on his face.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good point.
Because his whole plan was based on the movie that he dreamt.
Yeah, what if he'd seen a movie that was about cowboys, but it was like a proper movie about cowboys?
Well, it's like Blazing Saddles or something.
Yeah, like he'd seen that.
And he just farted a lot.
Yeah.
It would have to be, I guess, a movie before 1985.
Oh, that's a good point.
He could have seen, The Exorcist, and then, you know how you could stand back to back and then you start walking away from each other in the duel and then you turn around? His head could have started to turn around early and that would have given him the drop-on
He's just standing there and he just, starts peeing.
So,
he's like...
and then he, would have fucked himself with a crucifix. So, Mad Dog shoots Marty and I think, oh, well, that's it. That's the end of Marty McFly.
That's it, he's dead.
The dark way to end the trilogy. But no, Marty had the bloody stoveplate under his poncho.
Genius.
And he punches Mad Dog in the guts. As you pointed out, a little bit lower, could have solved the problem. But then you got a dirty car, so I'm not sure. True. And even author Craig Shaw Gardner is rushing through to the end now. The epic falling in shit running gag, which happens in all the movies, is summed up in a very simple...
Instead, he stumbled backward, into a cart Marty had seen when he'd first come to town. A cart filled with damp, fragrant manure. Buford passed out, covered in brown.
Not the most memorable. And for a villain that we've ever seen, what if he was passed out, covered in Doc Brown?
I hope that manure was all from Doc Brown.
Because Doc Brown is pretty damp and fragrant at the moment. And then a whole lot of train stuff. It pushes the DeLorean. Clara comes back and interferes. She nearly balls the whole thing up. But then...
There were 3 sonic booms and 3 flashes of brilliant light, and the DeLorean was traveling across the bridge, except now the bridge was whole. Marty glanced down at the digital display and saw that the current year was 1985. He was home!
Yay! And then a train murders the DeLorean.
That's it, it's the end. He stopped himself and looked up to see the diesel engine smash into the DeLorean at 60 miles an hour. The DeLorean was totaled. Bits and pieces of the time machine were sent flying everywhere.
That's sad. Goodbye, old friend. This is the death of a major character. This would be like the Millennium Falcon getting blown to pieces.
It is. It's definitely a heartbreaking moment. But it also establishes that there will be no more time travel for Marty McFly. Yeah,
it is kind of a strong end to Marty's story. And look, it's fine. He's in 85. 85 sweet. Biff is still an indentured slave, waxing that car. Jennifer is still snoozing on the porch. When they put her on the porch.
It's probably because she's inbred.
It is a valley, but it's called Hill Valley because they're all inbred hillbillies.
Yeah.
They left her on the porch in the Biff crazy time. Like when Biff had Donald Trumped the place and had his
How
casino.
did he get in? Oh, right. The thing I don't get about that is, like, I understand he got a lot of money, but how did he fuck up the entire town by having that much money?
And did that...
And he's, like, crooked, right? Like, he's doing dodgy stuff.
And didn't, like, Marty stop that from happening, but you know how Doc draws on the blackboard the line, and then he shows that when you branch off into alternate
Yeah, so that
versions?
timeline's still happening.
Yeah, so there is a Jennifer that is still on the porch in that shitty... Sleep on the porch outside in that shitty timeline.
Marty doesn't care about that.
Yeah, that Jennifer's fucked.
Yeah.
By a bear. And Marty refuses Needles. Do you remember Needles?
No, man.
Needles is the guy in the future who appears on the fax and is like... appears on the TV screen and is like, you've got to do this thing. And he gets
how does
fired.
that affect his hand?
I think that was Needles. Oh, because Needles... there was a race. There was a drag race. He was like, come on, Marty, you got to race me. And then Marty did, and he crashed the car. He crashed into Rolls Royce.
That's right, yeah.
And he damaged his hand, and then he couldn't play guitar.
But he refuses it. He refuses a chicken taunt.
He refuses the chicken taunt.
That's character development.
Look, someone's in the passenger seat. They're clucking. They're doing everything. Yellow belly, all of it. And Marty keeps his cool. Nah. So now we assume that he becomes a shit-hot rock star.
Yeah.
And just fulfills all his wild dreams.
That or something horrible would happen. Like he gets some kind of incurable disease.
And degenerates over time. And then Doc turns up in his pimped-out train with his two boys, Jules and Vern.
Nerd. What a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. That train's so cool. I remember the first time I saw it. I was like, that train's so much fucking cooler than that car.
Same. And I would have read out the description of it, except it really isn't that exciting in the book. So I'm going to read the end. I haven't read this yet. I'll find a spot. Okay. He reached for something inside the cab. Oh, I brought you a little souvenir. He handed Marty a rectangular package wrapped in brown paper with a red ribbon. Marty tore the paper open. Inside was a framed photograph of Marty and Doc in front of the clock. The same photograph he'd found in the wreckage of the DeLorean, except now Marty was in the photograph. He looked up at his friend. I love it, Doc. Thanks. Then it wasn't a dream, Jennifer muttered at his side. He looked over to see her staring intently at a crumpled piece of paper that didn't seem to have anything on it. She looked up at the inventor. That was the fax. That was the you're fired fax.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Brown.
That's right.
I just want to know one thing. What happens to Marty and me in the future? Doc considered her question for a second before answering. In the future? It's up to you. Your future hasn't been written. No one's has. For better or worse, your future is what you make it. He winked at both Marty and Jennifer. So make it a good one, both of you. This sounds like he's saying goodbye, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Marty put his arm around Jennifer. We will, Doc. And what about you? Are you going back to the future? Everybody winks at the camera. The inventor shook his head. Nope, already been there. He pushed the lever in the locomotive's cab, and with a rush of steam, the wheels folded underneath the engine and the entire locomotive lifted off the tracks. Doc and his family all waved as the locomotive rose 20 feet into the air and then proceeded to chug off into the afternoon sky. And chug off, the lot of you. And after a moment, Marty and Jennifer remembered to wave back until the locomotive was no more than a speck in the heavens.
They remembered to wave that.
That's the end, yeah. He didn't see it. But that's your Back to the Future 4, isn't it? Because it's Doc. Get Christopher Lloyd to have a cameo as Doc.
Yeah.
Jules and Vern are adults.
Jules and Vern, what happens? Doc fucks up. He makes a lot of mistakes. He's like, I've got to dump these kids. But I've got to wipe their brains, and they can't remember anything. And he dumps them in whatever town Bill and Ted are from. And he gives them new names, Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
But they're always meant to be time travelers.
Yeah.
And then that's how Bill and Ted starts.
They can't escape their destinies.
Yeah. So Bill and Ted is really Back to the Future 4.
I buy it. That means we've had 5 Back to the Future movies.
With a 6th one coming.
Coming on the way. That's excellent. So I gotta ask, because I always do at this point. What was the book better?
I don't know.
It wasn't.
It wasn't?
No, it was a piece of shit. No, it was just a straight out tie. Look, to be fair, like I don't think it's not poorly written at all, but it's not spectacularly written. It's one of those things that really is the classic tied over until you're able to own a copy of the film.
It seems like he just wrote down exactly what he saw.
This happened, the end.
But then it takes what, like, how long did it take you to read that book?
Not that long.
It would take you less time to watch the movie.
I think so, yeah. But I was taking notes, so who knows?
That's true.
I got some reviews here, Zach. Feel
I'm
free
excited.
to interject on any of these things, so it's not just a wall of me talking. Because these people, I reckon they got a lot to say.
Okay.
So probably raise some salient points. So, Amazon, first up. First of all, let me tell you what I came to this book looking for. I enjoy thinking about the characters' feelings in my head, and I was curious to know whether anyone else thought the same thing as I did. On that level, except for a few peeks into our heroes' minds, the book fell short. Admittedly, this may be because I exaggerated the emotions of the characters. I am a romantic.
He wanted more of that mother-son.
I think I'm going to have to up the voice on this guy.
Yeah.
The story is fairly similar to that of the movie, although it features one deleted scene that leaves a dark splotch on an otherwise fairly carefree dramedy. Back to the Future fans will know what I'm talking about. I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know either.
And perhaps a few changes in small remarks made by the characters. Overall, the book is okay. However, as previously mentioned, it disappointed me and, like most novelizations, lacks something contained by the film. Rating. At least PG. People are cautioned to take into account that there are several swear words and some brief sexual innuendo by the villain when deciding whether to read this. You have been warned. Talk about babies.
Yeah, this guy sucks.
I mean...
When he said rating, I was like, 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't want him to classify my movies.
And then, like, swearing, I think maybe someone says shit, maybe there's a damn or something. Can you imagine going, oh, well, I won't read that book?
It's not like Buford Tannen's like, you yellow-bellied motherfucking cunt dog.
No, it's not. So you just think, like, if that would put you off, you know, on the odd chance you would read the word damn that you've probably heard a million times before in your life, what's the issue?
Yeah.
Come on. Let's be adults here.
I think that's a stupid fucking thing.
Whatever caused you to read this must be the result of some completely unusual mess-up, but furthermore, the book version of this popular yet stupid movie is one of those priceless oddities that one might stumble on perhaps once in a lifetime, probably not even noticing it. But let me tell you, I did. Wow! I got this book at a book fair when I was like 9 and never thought much of it, but think of the possibilities. This is a novel written about a cheesy movie that a great many people know. Just reading randomly from a section is a laugh riot on so many levels. We should do that sometime. Just read some sections out.
Yeah. I used to do it with Mills and Boone books.
See if it's a laugh riot. If you ever see a copy of this book, purchase it. It's a non-stop comedy aid, really, and it's the single most important centerpiece for performance art I've ever known. I thought that was a very meta review.
I feel like whoever wrote the book also wrote that review. Like
Craig Shaw.
He's definitely writing his own reviews.
And we've talked about Goodreads before and how it is the Wild West compared to Amazon. And now, to be fair, I don't think these people are English as their first language.
Okay.
So I'm certainly not saying that if that's the case that they're stupid, because they know one more language than I do at least.
That's true.
And that is challenging. So yeah, sharper than I am. But let's see how they fared. BTTF3, some scenes on books are not shown in the film. It's a great movie. I wonder if it takes the whole book in the movie. How would it look like too? This movie version is great. Michael J. Fox looks like Beatles' Paul McCartney in that pink cowboy costume. Then I become MJF fans. Perfect, yes, very perfect. Doc Brown, who never talks about love, has a woman, Clara Clayton. Clara, I wonder where did the movie boss find a lady for Doc Brown? He is a dog lover, dog person himself, like Marty maybe. I wonder one thing very strange, don't blame me guys, how can the white dog Copernicus read what the graveyard writes?
They might not be the best talker of the English language, but they are on to that dog thing.
Bloody dog. Well, hopefully they listen to this and they understand that Doc Brown's dead mummified penis was sticking out of the dirt.
Yeah.
Don't let your doodle dangle in the dirt, because if you do, it might get hurt. obviously not something he was subscribed to.
They also mentioned that it's weird that Doc Brown finds a woman when he's clearly into dogs.
And young boys.
Yeah.
High school boys. And the last one, this is it. The third and last part of Back to the Future trilogy. Wow, I can't believe this time the previous Doc Emmett fell in love with the beautiful townfolk girl. A lot of twisting memories for this part. Marty able to engage the fastest gunman, the first generation of Biff Tannen. Tannen sucks. And megalomaniac for his hilarious image. The McFly meets their own longest and future grandson, Marty. I can't believe the 1885 era is not that kind of boring. It's awesome, like Clint Eastwood movie, Unforgiven. The time is running, Marty and Doc. Go back to the present and destroy the watchtower. Hee hee hee. Weird.
They do raise a good point.
Yeah.
Unforgiven is a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's pure nonsense.
Tannen sucks and megalomaniac for his hilarious image.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah. And he's a megalomaniac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But beautiful townfolk girl,
Oh,
Mary
Yeah.
Stingerberg?
in the credits, she's credited as beautiful townfolk girl.
Ah, my mistake.
Yeah. So yeah, perfect, absolutely perfect. And I thought, wouldn't that be great in a movie trailer? Like, the time is running, Mighty and Doc. Go back to the present and destroy the watchtower. Weird.
I'd watch it.
So there you go. Well, yeah, that's the real Wild West. Good reads, where anybody can say whatever they want.
Do you ever write reviews on Goodreads?
No, I don't. I should. You see, doing the podcast has completely killed my writing because I used to write reviews and all sorts of stuff on the... I even killed my Twitter and everything because I think, that's a funny thing to say about this movie or whatever, and then I go, I'll say it on the podcast.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so
I can see how it's hard.
everything gets, like, stashed away, like little squirrel nuts, for the podcast every week. So, yeah. So I don't. I would like to maybe write sort of a couple of sentence reviews on Letterboxd or something. You familiar with Letterboxd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wanted to make a Twitter that was just one sentence reviews. Like, that's what
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah.
And you just review a movie in one sentence. Like that movie with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Where he's like going backwards in time. It's like Groundhog Day, but with guns and aliens.
I wanted to, when I was watching, like when you have that thing about something, but then you don't tweet about it, and then you're like, oh, now it's too late. Like when I was watching Fuller House, I wanted to, everyone was talking about the whitewashing and the Oscars and everything, and I wanted to say, Fuller House, I thought this was the whitewashed reboot of Roots. But yeah, missed my chance.
Missed your chance.
And that's been floating around.
Yeah. But now they've also rebooted Roots.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the joke just makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, unless I thought that I was watching the whitewashed reboot of Roots.
There's a chance for this joke to come back.
And yeah.
You gotta plan this perfectly.
Okay. Well, don't tell anybody it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to keep it.
It's just between you and me.
Just you and I. Up my sleeve is this little kind of whitewashed racial joke. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'll eagerly await.
Because it makes fun of white people. So it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're a bunch of dummies, really, aren't we?
White people, yeah.
I sound like I'm being sarcastic.
No,
I'm not. I
white people are
really
the
mean
worst.
it. We are the
We're
worst.
terrible.
When there are so many different perspectives and points of view and experience around the world that aren't us.
Yeah. Plus we're just
Bullshitting about Back to the Future 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a pretty shady couple of weeks for white people. So on the behalf of someone who's white and privileged, I'm so sorry that everyone sucks.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for listening to Back to the Future 3. Marty McFly, he was a white person that had some problems that just really concerned him. And
Whoa. There are no black people in Back to the Future.
there's the mayor guy.
Oh, wait, there's the band. The whole band.
The band as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why all
There was
this
some
racial
Indians.
stuff's coming up.
Briefly, I know. Well, it's the climate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, thanks for listening to Back to the Future 3. You can find out everything we're doing at fruitlesspursuits.com. You can listen to FPcast, which is a pop culture podcast, reviews movies. Next week, we're reviewing Ghostbusters. Woohoo! Ladies busting ghosts. That I need to see to believe.
Yeah.
And, follow. You'll find links to Facebook, Patreon, all that stuff. So get on board that. That's very, very confident, clear, concise plugging.
That perfect.
Yep. And, thanks so much, man. This has been really fun. I've really enjoyed this.
That's cool, man. I enjoyed it as well.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
If only we'd recorded it, we could listen to it again and relive all these fun memories.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll have the technology.
In 2015. The future. All right, do you want to say the thing that gets us out of here?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Do you remember it?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Catch you on the flips.
Jumanji.